are responsible for this mess. I told you this would happen.
I am not taking the blame for this. Stay back.
When I bought my piece of land 15 years ago, I wasn't chasing luxury or investment. I just wanted peace. A few quiet acres out in the countryside, away from traffic, noise, and people who think rules only apply to others. At MY Land had one special feature: a small wooden bridge that crossed a narrow creek, connecting my driveway to the main road. I built that bridge with my own hands, one plank at a time. It wasn't fancy, but it was strong. It was mine. For years, life was simple. I'd sit on my porch in the evenings, coffee in hand, listening to the crickets. But then, the quiet started to fade. Developers moved in down the road. Bulldozers, surveyors, and the smell of wet asphalt filled the air. Within months, what used to be farmland turned into a luxury neighborhood. 68 massive homes with imported grass, gated entrances, and a shiny new homeowners association that acted like they ran the county. That I didn't care much at first. They had their world, I had mine. But then I noticed something. The only road leading into their fancy $15 million neighborhood crossed my bridge. Yep, the same old wooden bridge I had built years T first, I didn't mind. Their residents used it daily, families, delivery trucks, maintenance crews. I figured, why make a fuss? Didn't bother me until they started to act like the bridge and my land somehow belonged to them. That T started small. A couple of polite letters from the HOA saying things like, "We'd like to discuss incorporating your bridge into the community infrastructure." Then another, this time more formal. "For legal uniformity, we request that you transfer bridge ownership to the HOA." I laughed when I read that one. I mean, who does that? They were basically asking me to give away part of my property so their million-dollar homes would look more uniform. I ignored it. A few weeks later, another letter arrived. Not so polite this time. They claimed my bridge was a community access point and that my refusal to cooperate was causing logistical issues for residents. They even hinted that my structure might violate safety codes. That's when I knew this wasn't just about paperwork. They wanted control. That I wrote back a simple response: "This bridge is on private land. Cross it with respect or not at all." After that, things got weird. That I'd see HOA trucks parking at the end of my drive, snapping pictures. Once, I even caught a couple of guys measuring the bridge, pretending to be surveyors. When I asked who sent them, they muttered something about routine inspection and drove off. Weeks passed, then months. I thought maybe they dropped it, but I was wrong. One morning, just after sunrise, I heard the deep growl of heavy machinery. T first, I thought it was just some maintenance work on the neighborhood road. But the sound was too close. That I stepped outside and froze. That a giant yellow backhoe was parked right on my property line. And it wasn't just there, it was tearing through the bridge, with splintered metal bolts popped loose, and the creek water below churned with debris. MY Bridge, the only way in or out of my land, was being cut in half. That I ran down shouting, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" The operator didn't even look at me. He just kept working, crunching through the structure like it was junk. Then I saw him, standing across the creek, arms crossed, wearing a smug grin. "Craig, the HOA president." "Morning," he shouted over the noise. "Just making a few improvements." "Improvements?" I yelled back. "That's my bridge." He shrugged. "Not according to our records," he said. "This area is designated for community use. Maybe now you'll be willing to sell." I felt my blood boil. Sell? I didn't want to buy. They wanted to push me out. By the time the machine stopped, half the bridge was gone, a jagged stump leading to nowhere. That I was trapped on my own property, staring across the creek at Craig and his crew like some kind of standoff. That he smirked again, hands in his pockets, and said, "Don't worry. Once you come to your senses, we can work something out." Then they packed up and left, leaving me stranded. That evening, I stood by the wreckage as the sun went down. The bridge that once carried every visitor, every truckload of supplies, every memory, was now a broken ruin. That no way in, no way out. But here's the thing about people like Craig and his HOA. They always underestimate the person they're trying to bully. They thought cutting off my bridge would force me to surrender. They had no idea It was the biggest mistake they could have made to IT first. I was furious. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. I wanted to storm over there and give Craig a piece of my mind. But then I stopped. See, anger makes people reckless, but patience? Patience makes people dangerous. So instead of exploding, I went inside, brewed myself a strong cup of coffee, and made 2 phone calls. One to my lawyer and one to my old college friend, who happens to be a civil engineer. Within hours, we had everything pulled up: property records, land plats, bridge permits, everything. And guess what? The bridge was 100% registered in my name. I had all the legal documentation, title, maintenance records, even inspection certificates to be why cutting that bridge in half. The HOA hadn't just made a mistake. They'd committed felony property damage and trespassing. Why lawyers said, if you want, we can have a sheriff out there by morning. But I smiled and said, no, let's wait, because I knew what was coming. You see, that little wooden bridge wasn't just a connection to my home. It was the only legal access road to their entire multi-million-dollar neighborhood. Every delivery truck, every mail carrier, every garbage truck, every family SUV, all of them had to cross my land to reach their homes. And now, there was no bridge. Within 48 hours, their perfect suburban dream began to unravel. Amazon packages piled up at the main road, undelivered. Trash trucks refused to enter, leaving bins overflowing on the curbs. Grocery deliveries? Canceled. School buses? Rerouted miles away. By day 3, residents were panicking. Someone tried to drive through the creek itself, got stuck halfway, and had to call a tow truck. The tow truck couldn't reach them either. The HOA held an emergency meeting in Craig's driveway, waving clipboards and shouting at each other. That I sat on my porch, sipping my coffee, watching it all like it was a live comedy show. Then came the real chaos. One of the HOA members, a developer, had several new homes under construction in the back section of the neighborhood. With no bridge, their cement trucks and supply vehicles couldn't reach the site. Construction froze completely. The bank financing those homes stepped in, reviewed the property access, and immediately froze all funding, citing access uncertainty. And just like that, their $15 million development project ground to a halt. Meanwhile, Craig tried to fix things on his own. They brought in a construction crew to build a makeshift gravel path across the creek. They thought they were being clever, sneaking in a quick fix to bypass me. But what they didn't realize was the creek runs through a regulated floodplain. Any unapproved construction, there's a violation of city and state zoning laws. My engineer friend made 1 phone call to the city. Inspector By that evening, officials showed up, halted the entire operation, and slapped the HOA with multiple violation notices. I still remember Craig's face when the city truck pulled up and told him the site was being shut down, that he looked like someone had yanked the ground right out from under him. The next morning, I started getting calls, polite ones this time, from HOA board members, from neighbors who had ignored me for years. Suddenly, they wanted to discuss a solution. They wanted to negotiate. But it was too late for that, because in just 1 week, their picture-perfect neighborhood had turned into a logistical nightmare. Their homes, worth millions, were now practically worthless without a legal access road. Buyers backed out. Realtors panicked. Property values tanked overnight. And me, I didn't lift a finger. All I did was wait and watch the empire they tried to build on my land start to crumble. That's when I made my move. See, by now, the HOA was drowning. No deliveries, no construction, no access, and furious homeowners demanding answers. They thought they could bully me into selling, but instead, they'd backed themselves into a corner. And I was holding the one thing they desperately needed, the key to their entire neighborhood. Through my lawyer, I sent them a formal offer. IT was simple, fair, and devastatingly poetic. I told them I'd rebuild the bridge, but only under new terms. The HOA would pay every single cent of reconstruction costs, cover my legal fees, and agree to a permanent, written contract stating that the bridge and the land it stands on remains private property. That on top of that, they'd pay an annual access toll for every homeowner who used IT first. Craig exploded. He called it extortion. He even threatened to take it to the county. But the county already had the records, and the law was on my side. They destroyed my property. Now they were paying the price. Days turned into weeks. With no access, tempers flared inside the neighborhood. Garbage piled higher, tempers got shorter, and property values dropped faster than anyone could imagine. Homeowners began turning on their own board. I heard shouting one evening from across the creek. A full-blown HOA meeting meltdown. Craig was standing there, red-faced, surrounded by angry residents waving bills and shouting words like, "Resign," and "You ruined us." I didn't have to say a thing. They were doing my work for me. By the end of that week, the HOA caved. They signed every condition. They paid for a brand new, reinforced steel bridge, complete with lighting, drainage, and weight permits, all under my name. And yes, it's now secured by a private access contract that lists me as the legal gatekeeper. Today, every car that crosses that bridge, every moving truck, every mail van, every luxury SUV pays an annual access fee directly to my account. It's not much individually, but with 68 homes, let's just say the bridge pays for itself. And then some today. As for Craig, the mighty HOA president, he was forced to resign after the members found out his stunt had cost them nearly $2.4 million in damages, penalties, and reconstruction. The best part, my property value tripled that I didn't have to sell a single inch. They tried to force me out, but in the end, they built me a bridge to fortune. The end.